Kevin Bowen here. Don't forget to listen to The Fan now on 93.5 or 107.5 FM, and check out our latest coverage online at 1075thefan.com.
A 46-yard field goal from Adam Vinatieri to give the Colts the lead. Here's the snap. Ball's on its way and is blocked. It's picked up by Tennessee. They're running the other way with it. They're going to score a touchdown. Tennessee blocks kick, and they run the other way, and they score a touchdown on special teams. That's Ty Smith. That's the second blocked field goal today by the Tennessee Titans, and the ball bounced fortuitously right into the breadbasket of Ty Smith, who runs about 60 yards the other way for a touchdown.
What a difference a month makes. 5-2 and talking about playing for a bye to 6-6, and seemingly everybody wanted to talk about the 2020 draft.
Yep.
That's the Colts right here in 2019 as we reach the final quarter of the regular season. I'm Kevin Bowen, back. Another edition of Kevin's Corner. Joey Molinaro still with us, which is amazing with how viral Joey's gotten over the last 72 hours. Congrats on that.
Thanks,
Joey.
Man. Yeah.
For those that missed it, his Nick Saban impersonation. Worldwide leader. Saying, give me that. Nick Saban's daughter commented on it?
Yeah, that was my favorite, because then I know that Mr. Saban probably saw it.
Mr. Saban.
And then, at the Thanksgiving dinner table, they were probably all laughing about it. At least they were. Probably he wasn't.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I was excited about that.
Yeah, he's probably still trying to figure out what happened there on that punt, whatever, Gus Malzahn getting the best of Nick Saban over the weekend. But in all seriousness, congrats to you, Joey.
Thanks.
Happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners out there. Hope they enjoyed the time with their family and safe travels and watched a lot of football. Although the end of the weekend for our fan base here on Kevin's Corner, they did not like at all what they saw. And I just can't believe how quickly it all unraveled, man. It's like 17-7. I'm like, oh, wow. Colts should be up even more. Yeah, that's kind of what I felt like at 17-7. And then the 24 unanswered points. And I thought it was fitting at the end of the game. I looked down, and I couldn't believe how quickly the fans started pouring out of Lucas Oil Stadium, like right after the block kick and the interception, of course. All of a sudden, they're just running for the exits, it seemed like. And it was like, that is a Week 4 preseason crowd that just watched Week 4 preseason execution out of their football team. I mean, the Colts ended that game looking like a team of guys that should go play in the XFL, AFL, insert your league here.
Yeah, and, they're probably a little scarred from those fourth quarter preseason games, what happens late in those games this year. Hey, if it's gotten this bad, it can only get worse from our experience. No, but in all seriousness, I was thinking the same exact thing. I was like, oh, typical Colts Titans. I mean, all these injuries, Titans still can't get it done, and then the flip of a switch, dude. Totally different story.
In every phase, and we'll get into that and things I didn't like and things I liked. It was, it kind of felt like, Joey, all season long where we had those questions kind of like, hey, are the Colts playing with fire all these one-possession games? And
yeah, true.
I think we sided with, I think they are playing with fire. You got to start putting teams away if you're going to be a legit playoff contender. And I think now we've seen it through 12 games. This is a mediocre average football team for a lot of reasons. But last year they won these back against the wall sort of games. Now they haven't. They've lost 4 of 5. They need tons of help to get into the playoffs. And, I felt like, I felt like the 10-day break, yes, the Hilton injury was significant last week and something that we will touch on today, but
that broke on Thanksgiving, didn't it?
Yes. So we had the setback Wednesday practice. Chris Ballard announced it Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
And now, that storyline of should Hilton play again this season? They're listing him week to week.
Yeah.
Week to week for the Colts means weeks, plural.
Sure.
That's what that means. So a whole lot to get into on today's edition of Kevin's Corner.
All right. Per usual, we got to start with things that you didn't like after a loss, and there's really nowhere else to start besides the kicking operation.
For what, the umpteenth time this year? We're starting with the bleeping kicking operation.
It's the new Andrew Luck's shoulder conversation.
Right. And okay, you're talking about an injury to your franchise quarterback? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. We are talking about an NFL team kicking the football for really probably the 7th time this year. There's still 4 more games to go this season. It's how is it not laughable? It's sad. It's laughable. It's everything. The block kick there, I felt like I was watching a high school. I felt like I was watching a high school football team. Like, that was the easiest block kick you'll see in NFL history. I thought it almost kicked the guy in the nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like...
It's almost like he could have caught it.
Yeah, he could have caught it in stride and just been like, or just literally been like, hey, Rigo, will you give me that?
Right.
Like, you don't even need a kick. Joey, it goes back to what I've said so many times this season. It's the refusal. Jim Irsay, Chris Ballard, Frank Reich. They have refused to make changes with that group. That has been the biggest issue, problem for this 2019 football team, that they have gone against their word of accountability, and it's not about one person, all of this. And here we are in week 13. It continues to bite this football team in the ass. They have no one else to blame but themselves for refusing to make any changes. And this is place kicker on down. And on down, it was the 11-man unit we saw out there on Sunday. Let's start with Vinatieri. The 2 misses to start the game. 55-yarder in the first quarter, misses wide right. 52 or 53-yarder gets blocked. That was a terrible kick that had no chance of going in. You expect an NFL kicker to go 1 of 2 from 50 yards plus. I think indoors, I think that's kind of what we expect, right? You know, I feel like that's where we can lay the blame on Vinatieri. Obviously, the 46-yarder there with about 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter was not his fault at all.
Yeah.
Tennessee used a similar formation on all 3 missed kicks. They overloaded the side to where Vinatieri would be kicking towards. So think of it as right hash, they overload the left side. Left hash, they overload the right side. You know, wherever he's kicking towards.
Basically, so he could kind of feel that
Correct.
presence coming. He could see that.
See it and feel it, definitely. And again, the reason Tennessee's doing this, because they know the Colts have had issues this season. So teams are now looking at the Colts kicking field goals, and they're like, oh my gosh,
yes, please.
This is a chance to feast, especially the long kicks. They didn't do it on the 29-yard field goal. They only did it on the 3 long kicks, knowing full well that ball's coming in low.
Right.
And if you watch and count numbers, the Titans had 6 guys versus the Colts 4 guys. And that group broke down. It was from outside in, it was Costanzo, Hunt, I think Grover Stewart, Quentin Nelson, leading into Luke Rhodes. Marcus Hunt really took all the blame afterwards. To me, I feel like you block inside out. Like, I thought Costanzo maybe should have chipped down.
For sure.
On the D gap, D as in dog.
Yeah.
That guy was a free rusher. If you do go back and watch the other 2 field goals from north of 50 yards, Hunt does kind of get a bit of a body on that guy that ended up getting free. And he pretty much said after the game, he got off balance, poor technique, and he was kind of man up on that one guy, and then boom, I forget the guy with the crazy name, something Shank, which is fitting. He is the one that ends up blocking it, and then the easiest 63-yard return you will ever see. It's just an entire breakdown of that unit. And, you know, something we've talked about, Joey, is like going back to the Pittsburgh game with Luke Rhodes in the snap. When Vinatieri is missing kicks, it's now putting so much pressure on the rest of that kicking unit. All of them.
Everybody else is getting the curse is supposed to, the tight butts out there.
Exactly. All of them are like, holy shit, oh my God. Like, because they're all probably thinking, I got to whip my head up and see if the kick's going in. Because, like, right now it's a 60% chance that it goes in. I couldn't believe it was the first time in franchise history. The Colts have had a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. But, yeah, I mean, it's how many games now? Chargers, Steelers,
Titans week 2 that they won. So.
They've overcome 2 games this year. Titans and Broncos, they've overcome those in their kicking issues. They've lost, just straight up lost games. Chargers, Steelers, Dolphins, Titans. It's
wouldn't happen at another team in the league.
No,
with that.
No, I don't get it at all. Yeah, man, it's This is an organizational move. This is squarely on that. I know some people want Adam Vinatieri to have, called it quits, and I'm really not going to fault a competitor in the middle of a season for having a clear mind, having a clear conscience, and knowing when to walk away. It's the Colts decision makers that have cost them now easily 4 games, and you played with fire and 2 others. And, I mean, we're talking 4 games in 12 weeks, Joey.
Yeah.
That's a third of your season based off a field goal kicking operation. We are not talking about, whatever. You couldn't convert in the red zone or you've turned the ball over late, like very just up in the air things that happen in NFL games. We are talking about one of the most reliable parts of an NFL game. And I think one of the more, just one of the more easier to control parts to that game. And the Colts look like a high school team kicking the football week in and week out. It's a refusal. It's the steadfast, just insanity of continuing to do the same thing over and over again. We talked about it after week 1. We talked about it after week 2. And here we are now going into week 13, continuing to talk about it.
Another thing that you didn't like, Jacoby Brissett's interception.
Both.
Interceptions.
Yeah.
Both. I mean, plural. You think about the one late that really killed it, but both of those just tough to overcome, man.
It's so funny that you mentioned interceptions, plural. I asked Frank Reich after the game, what did you see on the blocked field goal? And he goes, which one? That's what sums up the Colts season. There's multiple blocked field goals in one game.
That just Peter Griffin hand or fingers under the eyes.
Do it. Yeah. Face, palm to the face emoji.
For sure.
Everyone do it with me right now.
Yep.
Come
in the
on.
car. Well, maybe not in the car.
Yeah. Oh, God. Plural interceptions. To think that at one point people asked us questions, is Jacoby Brissett an MVP candidate this year?
NFL's a long season, folks.
Like, what were those?
Only 16 games, but
what were
it's a long season.
He's avoided those mistakes. And I should say, Jacoby Brissett, nice work in the first half. I thought took some more chances, just better recognition and finding guys in the zone. But the 2 interceptions in the second half, they were beyond boneheaded.
Yeah.
The first one is a little bit of a check down overthrow to Doyle. That's not trying to throw the ball deep at all. Let's not act like that interception was, hey, you all been saying throw it deep.
Here it goes.
Well, no, that was a 5-yard pass that all of a sudden ballooned in the air like 10 yards, and Kevin Byard was like, oh, my God, thank you. I mean, you had about 4 or 5 seconds to get rid of that ball or to find something a little bit, whatever, easier, and that ball sails 3 points, led directly. So good sudden change defense.
Yeah.
So now the game's tied at 17. And then after the blocked field goal, I don't know what he was thinking on the Zach Pascal interception. Got about 4 minutes to go in the game. Mm-hmm. It's a 2nd and 10. It's one of the cleanest pockets he's had all day. And it would look like it was like a 4th and 15 with 32 seconds to go in the game at your own 25-yard line. Like just a forced decision, double, triple coverage. Like, and I'm not even like comparing Jacoby Brissett to Andrew Luck or whatever, top 10 sort of quarterbacks. Like, look at what Ryan Tannehill does after the interception. 3rd and 10, throws a perfect ball, knowing full well that Kenny Moore just got hurt on the previous possession. They're going to take advantage of that. Tennessee's down. Adoree Jackson in the game. Malcolm Butler's on IR. The Sims kid, one of their other corners, is out. Like, you can't expose their deficiencies in the secondary. And I know this is a personnel thing that has played into this lack of a passing game for sure. But your quarterback has got to make better decisions. And in pressure-packed moments this season, Jacoby Brissett has not delivered. I mean, that's now Oakland and Tennessee, home games, down in the fourth quarter, you commit a fatal error. 2 turnovers lead directly to 10 points. And we're at the point of the season, Joey, where we're 12 games into it. We're seeing the quarterback take steps back. not steps forward. Honestly, not even staying, flat. I think we're seeing a few steps back from him.
But at the same time, Kevin, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
I was talking with a few different people last week after the Houston game, and it was like, okay, this last month here in December, you kind of want sink or swim if you're a Colts fan for Jacoby, right? Like, you don't want just kind of like teeter-totter, one game pretty good, looks like the guy, the next game, not a great game, right? Like, you want him to be the guy or to not be the guy to have an answer.
See, you're looking at it from like how I kind of look at this season. We're probably not looking at it from how the diehard fans look at it.
Yeah.
They're looking at it from,
gotta win these games.
Great chance to still be in the playoff picture. That's part of it. And there is a select part of the fan base that definitely, I think, probably looks at it from your side of it. So there might be some people that are pleased, as crazy as that sounds, with how Jacoby Brissett finished that game yesterday. But there's also a large majority that's really pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
Because you had a great opportunity. And your offense missed some great opportunities in the first half, to cash in on the playmaking that your defense found, which we'll get into a little bit later. But, I'm talking the monumental points of this season. Down, fourth quarter. You got the ball. Here's your chance. Pick against Oakland. Pick against Tennessee at home. That's fatal. Mm-hmm. You can't have that. He hasn't cleared that hurdle at all. And that's part of the checklist that you go down and evaluating a guy to see if he can be your franchise quarterback. So we are seeing, I've said it all season long. I didn't feel like Jacoby Brissett belonged in the top 20 quarterback, top 10 ceiling quarterback, wherever the Colts felt like he was. I think that's shown out here through the first 12 games as well. And what we saw against Houston, which I didn't really touch on this on last Monday's podcast, but I will touch on it today. The Colts were pretty pleased with how their wideouts played against Houston, taking the Hilton drops out of it. They felt like they had open guys in that game, and the quarterback didn't take advantage of it. He was better in the first half yesterday, but then when you needed him to be consistent in the second half, when you needed him to protect the football, he didn't do that. And I think we're starting to see some issues as well in recognizing blitzes. You aren't making teams pay for when they blitz, and I thought that was quite apparent yesterday.
Saw the defense make a few plays, but they didn't do enough. And in a game like that yesterday, you needed more from them.
Yeah, Joey, and I'm glad that we are mentioning this because I want to be crystal clear in what I mean by this. The defense was really, really good in the first half. Probably outstanding, honestly. You sack a guy 5 times, you create 2 turnovers. That's damn good defense.
Oh, yeah.
But this is why I didn't like it. First off, we're obviously grading units on 60 minutes of football. Mm-hmm. And secondly, I'm grading that off a healthy defense. That is the most healthy you will see a Colts defense, hell, any NFL defense, all season long. And you gave up 5.8 yards per carry. And you gave up, 77%, I think he was. Let me pull out the old calculator here for Tannehill. 77. 17 to 22. Joey, you give up 77% completion percentage. You give up 5.8 on the ground. I can't put the defense in they did enough for you to win the football game category. I know it's, 24 points. They were throwing in some sudden change that wasn't great, but for how healthy that unit was, I can't absolve them of everything.
Yeah.
When you're up 17-7, that first drive there of the third quarter, man, I couldn't believe that stat CBS threw out, that the Colts have allowed the most points on third quarter drive, the first drive of the third quarter all year long. Kind of an interesting stat that dives a little bit deeper. Tennessee converted a 1st and 20 on that drive. Leonard doesn't make a play on the big run by Henry. Tyquan Lewis continues to be invisible. They just gassed you. They gassed you on that drive. And I just felt like it was either sack or bust by the defense. They had 1 sack in the second half. They got gashed on the ground. Tannehill has the backbreaker on the whatever that was, 40-yard touchdown pass to end the game. And Again, considering that group is healthy, I needed to see more consistency across 60 minutes, and I didn't see it.
One thing we got accustomed to the last handful of weeks was the Colts running attack. I mean, they were running all over everybody anytime, anywhere, and yesterday that was one of the things that you didn't like.
And I want to group this into the offensive line as well, Joey, when I'm talking about the run game. Coming into yesterday's game, you're down Hilton, you're down Funchess, you're down Campbell, Ebron, Mack. I tweeted out before the game, it's like 50% of your offense from last season is missing. So in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, how do the Colts win this football game? They need their defense to play damn good football for 60 minutes, and they need their offensive line to show up in a big way. I just talked about the defense. Let's talk about the O-line here. 3.4 yards per carry. That's just not good enough. That's not good. 3.4 yards per carry when you're missing the pieces that you're missing is not good, especially when you kind of opened up the passing game a little bit in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, Jonathan Williams got benched to look like a halftime.
Wow.
8 carries for 14 yards. He gets a holding penalty. He's breaking down in pass protection. And hell, it's not like the other running backs were better in pass protection. But, you couldn't handle the free rushers. Some of that's on Brissett. Some of that's on the running backs as well. Just the identification was terrible. And, what was a big play in the game was Nelson's holding penalty. Quentin Nelson had a hold on the block field goal drive that put the Colts behind the chains into 1st and 20. They get into the 3rd and 9. Brissett gets sacked. 46-yard field goal. We all saw what happened. Yeah, it's just you got to have better from your intact, healthy units in those sorts of games. And you missed just so many chances in the first. I mean, you had a legit 4 field goal drives. 4 drives in field goal or red zone range in the first half, and you only scored 10 points. I just want to – it's not as obvious as kicking game or Brissett's turnovers or those sorts of things, but still, the bar for those groups are higher. They are set at a higher level, and the Colts did not meet those on –
Even with the loss, Kevin, a few things that you did like, and one, let's start with like we talked about, defensive playmaking. Didn't do enough for 60 minutes, but certainly they made some plays.
Still deserve mention, especially the linebacker group. That playmaking, it was really incredible in the first half. You get the 5 sacks, Anthony Walker the strip, Bobby Okereke with the strip, Leonard had a huge sack in there. I mean, that was the best. That's field position you dream of. Dream to give your offense short fields, which was so needed in the in those issues. So that was tremendous. I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that. Yes, it was all in the first half, but that was still something that I thought was noteworthy from this team. And that's part of what I think has to happen for this defense. I just don't think they're built to constantly force 3-and-outs or, allow 1 first down and get off the field. No, they really need some of that playmaking. And we've seen more of it, I think, as of late. Didn't see as much in the first half of the season. But I definitely wanted to note how good that playmaking was yesterday in the first half.
And then lastly, we've been looking for this for a while as well. Chunk plays, where they've been. There was a few of them yesterday. Yeah,
again, maybe I'm searching for positives a little bit, Joey, but I think we need to mention these things. You had a few more chunks. Brissett did make some nice throws in the first half. Better anticipation. And honestly, it goes back to kind of what was said, after the Houston game. There are plays to be made in the passing game, even without some of these guys. You just got to make those plays. And this was a baby step for this passing game. I'm not here crowning it by any means. I mean, hell, I think out of all those chunk plays, they pretty much all happened in the first half. 21 yards to Doyle, 19 to Pascal, 20 to Pascal, 19 to Johnson. I mean, a lot of those, Marcus Johnson for 18, a lot of those came in the first half. But still, it was not all horrific from Jacoby Brissett. I don't want to go there.
That touchdown to Jack Doyle was like so perfectly Frank Reich and Jacoby Brissett.
Ooh, beautiful, beautiful. I thought Frank had some really good designs. And there was a great ball to Doyle near the goal line that set up maybe the Hines touchdown on a third down. Like, Brissett made some good throws yesterday. What were his final numbers? 25 of 40 for 319, a rating of 74. Oh, that rating's terrible. Yeah. But obviously some of that yardage came late.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I wanted to note there was some defensive playmaking. There were some chunks in the first half. That's why you had a lead. And now you got to try and build off that if you want to have any hope of running the table down the stretch.
This is going to be brutal for a lot of Colts fans, probably all Colts fans who are listening to this. Well, just think about, July 4th, you're sitting by the pool, you're barbecuing with your dad. You're talking about, boy, we're going to have Andrew Luck. We're going to have T.Y. Hilton. We're going to have Eric Ebron. We're going to have Devin Funchess. Maybe that was a little, We're going to have Devin Funchess.
Yeah.
This offense, dude, let's go. And that wasn't happening on Sunday, but the main two guys that we've talked about, or that we're going to talk about here, is Hilton having a regression in his injury, and then Funchess being out for the rest of the year.
Now the question is this, Joey. Do you just sit Hilton?
Man.
I mean, it's weird. If you look at the playoff standings and your Steelers with a huge win on Sunday, not helping the Colts out at all, the Colts will not be officially eliminated for the playoffs for at least another week or two. Now, it's not great. Things are not in their favor really at all in several of their situations, but part of me feels like if Hilton is healthy and they're not officially eliminated, he's going to try and play.
Yeah.
So, but then when I hear setback from the calf, I hear re-injuring, I think to myself, Joey, this was his first practice since he got hurt. Because remember, he didn't practice for the Houston game. It was walkthroughs.
Yeah.
That week. This was his first practice since he initially got hurt right before that Pittsburgh game. And you think about now 4 lower body injuries. I think it's like a quad, a hamstring, an ankle, and a calf in the last 14 months.
Not great for a guy who, his game is set on speed and agility and cutting.
No, not at all for a guy that's 5'9", 100 and whatever he is, 80 pounds. So I think that's a legit question. The Devin Funchess, man, you talk about a long broken collarbone.
Oof, I broke my collarbone. I have a broken collarbone. Have you seen that?
Yeah, you have shown me that one time. Yeah, you just showed me it again. That's gross.
Yeah. For everybody listening, it literally is a wing. They call it a wing. It's poking out of between my shoulder and between my neck on my right hand side. But yeah, man, I know the collarbone can be one of those annoying, nagging, like, why can't I be out there yet injuries, especially when you have surgery.
And usually, and obviously, like, let's not directly compare Nick Foles' break to Devin Funchess' break. They both happened in week 1. But, yeah, I know a couple guys on Notre Dame's team broke their collarbones this year. It tends to be like a 2-month sort of ordeal.
Sure.
And with Funchess now, I mean, it's over 3 months.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's going to be with him staying on injured reserve. And for those, this is not opening up a roster spot. He's just got to stay on injured reserve. He's not on the 53-man roster. The Colts had a deadline by Wednesday. They will not activate him, Frank Reich said after the game. So he's going on IR, staying on IR for the rest of the season. People are like, people are obviously ripping the Colts medical staff. And as I've long said, you've got to evaluate this medical staff. I don't necessarily put blame on them for a bone not healing in time, but I find it odd that you brought Funchess back to practice in mid-November. That kickstarts a 21-day window where you have to make a decision. Yeah, again, I'm no medical professional, but, like, aren't you doing a scan before he gets back to practice and saying, okay, that thing will fully heal in 1 to 2 weeks? Like, isn't that kind of the thought process? My thinking is, why do you even start the 21-day window? Why not leave him out till last week, maybe that 21-day window, then the bone would heal within that stretch if you just activated him on November 28th instead of November 13th. Mm-hmm. That's the only really question I have about this. Now, Frank Reich said yesterday that thing wasn't even close to getting healed. Like, maybe it wouldn't have healed. Maybe it wouldn't have healed at all here in 2019. So the short term and long term, Devin Funchess, this injury news kills you short term, And then long term, I mean, what do you do with him in free agency? Do you run it back
for another 1-year deal? I mean,
does he want that?
Yeah.
Does he want another prove-it contract at 25? Is there some team out there that will give him multiple years? Does he want more security? You know, clearly Frank Reich had a role for him and wanted him. I never thought the fit was all the way there with, you know, horseshoe guy and all that stuff. Like, I didn't think it was totally checked all the boxes with Devin Funchess, but I don't know, man. It's one of the odder kind of free agency situations you're going to have. And no matter what, Hilton, as he goes into the final year of his contract next year, 2020 will be the final year for him. Wide receiver remains a huge need. A massive, massive need for this football team. And hell, Chester Rogers was on crutches exiting the locker room after yesterday's loss.
Looks like the bench on Space Jam when they're getting ready to start from halftime, you know, and it's like, oh, man, or before halftime, before they get the secret stuff. All right, man, so I'm sure we're going to get a bunch of questions, a handful of questions about draft needs, draft wants, at 6-6 now. Do you want to do some Twitter questions?
Yes, sir. Let's do them.
All right, from Mac Me a Sandwich. If the Colts cannot get one of the top talents in this draft class at QB, is Cam Newton a reasonable pickup? He'll be a free agent. Rumors of him wanting out of Carolina due to the promotion of Kyle Allen are swirling.
No. I'm kind of over the whole quarterbacks with serious injuries.
I was going to say.
You know?
Jeez.
I don't know about you, man, but I think a move at quarterback is not like a Teddy Bridgewater, Kirk. I don't know. Like, I don't know if any of these quarterbacks are on the trade market or free agents. Yeah, I mean, like, that to me, it just makes you kind of want to bang my head against the table. Like, if you're going to start over, go freaking draft somebody.
Really
go find the next guy that goes on the side of Lucas Oil Stadium. Cam Newton maybe would fit elsewhere. I don't think he's fitting here, man.
Drew Rush wants to know, well, he says, we know Ballard loves them picks, but do you think you'd be willing to lose some of them in order to move up to draft a quarterback?
I think he would, Drew, and obviously this is a big question in terms of how much and all of that and where the Colts can be drafting. You know, it's a kind of a crazy thought to be thinking about, but I know that's what my mentions are filled with right now. So I do think he'd be willing. And Joey, how many times have we said that on this podcast? You know, during the trade deadline, people are like, the Colts should be buyers. And I'm like, okay, you can buy, but I don't want to give away any of those top 4-round picks. You know, I kind of am like, you might still need that.
Right.
You might still need that ammo.
Yeah.
And you have the ammo. And honestly, if the draft started today, I think you'd be at 17. Where was Lamar Jackson picked?
32.
You know, where was Deshaun Watson picked? Where was Patrick Mahomes picked?
17, 10.
You know, those guys aren't in the top 10. I'm not saying you need to go to 1.
No.
I'm not saying you need to go to 3. You know, Love, Herbert, Tua falling, you know, from whatever. I need to do more research on that group, but you don't really need to mortgage it crazily. This isn't RG3. This isn't Ricky Williams. Like, you don't need to do anything too crazy to still find that possible answer.
Lucas Robbins asks, are you on board with the Colts drafting Chase Vinatieri next year? Am I misreading this? Is this a joke?
Oh, yeah. He's got a nephew that plays at South Dakota State.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Drafting Chase Vinatieri next year, or do you think the Colts should trade for Young Ho Koo to be our new kicker? As much as I love Adam Vinatieri and know that the last blocked a kick wasn't his fault, the kicker has to be addressed next year. Well,
yes, it does. Yeah, Adam Vinatieri cannot be kicking for the Colts next season. I don't know, Joey. I'm probably still on like the... I think I've watched this kicking abomination all season long, and I'm just like, what? Am I watching, like, you know, Western Boone in the Class 2A state final game kick? Yeah. Like, what is this? And I feel like I finally committed myself to saying, go spend a 7th-round pick on a kicker, which I don't think I've been there before. But it's just been such a, like, what? We're still talking about this?
It's gotten to that point, yeah.
We're still talking about the freaking kicker in Week 13.
Yeah.
So I think I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, all right, commit a draft pick and never talk about it again. You know, like, let's not bring it up for the next 10 years.
From Casey, might have missed this, but any word from the Colts on why Williams didn't touch the ball in the second half?
Yeah, it's a good question, Casey. What'd I say? 8 carries in the first half. None. I don't know if he played a snap, to be honest with you, offensively in the second half. I'll ask Frank Reich that later today on the conference call. 8 carries for 14 yards. That's a 1.8 average. That's not great. I believe he had a holding penalty and pass protection as well. So, like, it just wasn't all good. It wasn't even close to good for Jonathan Williams. So, a little bit surprised he didn't even see the field. Wilkins and Hines gave you a little bit more, although they both had some issues in pass protection. But I just think it was a lack of production and the screw-ups in pass protection.
Zach wants to know, doesn't Chris Ballard shoulder some of this blame? He made an emotional decision to keep Vinny over a business decision. It seems that's how locker room gets fractured and how fingers start pointing.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, Chris Ballard deserves a lot of blame. Yes, a ton. And Jim Irsay and Frank Reich as well. I think if any of those three were steadfast and had a very strong kind of stance on Adam Vinatieri, I think the move would have been made. I do. So, yes, this is without a doubt probably the biggest black eye on the general manager through these first 3 seasons. You can nitpick and say, Scott Tolzien in 2017, or believing in the O-line, or obviously the wide receiver issues now for another offseason. But I would say when you're when you've benched, hell, Jonathan Williams got benched during the game yesterday. You are benching guys right and left, yet you continue to say, oh, we're good there. We don't need to make any changes. I asked Frank, I can't tell you how many times I've asked Frank Reich that this year. Every week. Frank, any personnel changes to your kicking unit this week? Again, I say any.
That to be kicker.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. You're going to change how you block. You're going to change how you snap. You're going to change how you hold. Anything.
And his response?
We're good. I have all the confidence in the world. That. It's so out of left field for Ballard and Reich. So out of character.
Yeah.
For them. Because I think both of them are really good at their jobs. I do. But you see this, and I'm just like, God, who is, poisoned the Colts decision makers?
From @Colts with Grant, why are people the way they are? This means, why must reasonable critiques of Jacoby Brissett be met with accusations of hate and thinking he's trash, while in actuality he is okay, and that's not enough?
Yeah, Frank, I couldn't agree more with that. Jacoby Brissett is a nice quarterback. That to me is kind of a bottom third of the league starter. Mm-hmm. Can you win 8 games with him, 9 games with him? Yeah, but your team better be damn good around him. Colts aren't that. More than likely, you're probably about a 500 football team, and good spot starter, great backup. And so, yeah, I'm not sitting here saying, get rid of him. Oh, my gosh, trade him. He's a can't. No. No, that's ludicrous. Jacoby Brissett is not terrible. But, again, if you're evaluating a quarterback of, because I always come from the premise of this. When we talk roster building with the Colts, we talk about the expectations that Jim Irsay and Chris Ballard have laid out. Irsay wants 3 straight Super Bowls. Ballard wants sustained success. So, okay, with those expectations, that means quarterback has got to be damn good. Mm-hmm. It's got to be top 10 good.
Yeah.
If you want that. And I don't see Jacoby Brissett doing that.
Brett Stockglausner asks, so are we doing at least another full year of Jacoby, or drafting a quarterback in the first 3 rounds and developing him?
I think you might be doing both. The odds, I think I'd say better than 50-50 Jacoby Brissett starts week 1 next year. Because all those guys sat, right? Watson sat until TJ Yates or whoever the starter was just got bludgeoned in the season opener. But, Mahomes sat. Lamar sat. There's a good chance Jacoby Brissett probably starts the majority of the games next season. Yeah. So I think you can do both. Right now, I'm not sure how the Colts can evaluate the quarterback situation and think they don't need to draft a quarterback in the first 3 rounds. First 3 is probably the cutoff.
Yeah.
That's probably the cutoff. I would think, without a doubt. And the thing about quarterback this is, when you find your guy, you got to go get that guy. You can't expect that guy to come to you.
Chiefs.
Yes.
I mean,
yes. Amen. Thank
100%.
you. You know, Chiefs, Texans, like when that guy is there, you have got to go get him because I think everyone around the NFL looks at the Chiefs and Texans and think, man, they risked it and they paid. It paid off.
I mean, even the Ravens, to a certain extent, sure they didn't go up to number 10 and get him, but 32, first-round pick, you draft Lamar Jackson, you already have Flacco, who, 3 years before you give that extension to. So, you know what I mean? It's still that just like, hey, we get that you have to live in the here and now, but you also have to have that on what's next.
Yeah, in the desperate need meter, Texans, Chiefs, Ravens were not at full throttle, like bleeping red and alarm sound. No, but they saw an opportunity to go make a move, and they made a move. And those three franchises, the three teams you're going to have to get through for the next 5 to 10 years in this conference,
right?
It paid off for them. I mean, hell, New England has invested a lot at quarterback.
Sure.
I think the Colts are the only team in the NFL to have not drafted a quarterback since 2012.
Wow, not even a one.
I think Seattle drafted one this year, and I think they were the first. They were the other team that's kind of had that long. But yeah, everyone. I mean, and obviously a lot of those teams have drafted multiple.
Yep. I like this one from Stan Cal. He wants to know what traits are most important to you guys when it comes to finding a franchise quarterback. And the more interesting question, how have those criteria changed when watching quarterbacks besides Manning, Luck, and Roethlisberger, for me, lead your teams?
Great question, per usual, from Stan. Feel free to chime in as well, Joey.
Yep.
I will say accuracy, innovation, and innovation can probably be mobility thrown in there.
Mm-hmm.
Anticipation. Yeah, and I guess when I say innovation, I probably also throw in a little bit of arm strength with that because, I think innovative, I think of you create something off script, which usually means you're fitting a ball into a crazy window, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'd say accuracy, innovation. What else did I say?
Mobility,
anticipation. And the mobility factor, again, that's kind of to me, that's the off-script nature of the innovative part of it. I love to grade moxie and fourth quarter stuff and I don't know if you could take a deeper dive into analytics and 2-minute stats and red zone stats and third down stats, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the things that stand out to me.
Yeah, I mean, all of those come into what I'm about to say of how good do they make the people around them. How much better, because how often did we see Peyton Manning throwing to Blair White or Austin Collie, and these guys are putting up numbers, or Andrew Luck's
wideouts last year.
I mean, Andrew, exactly, last year, or for in my instance, Big Ben with Mike Wallace back in the day, or even a Juju Smith-Schuster. You see how much he's dipped, in this year without the help of a quarterback like that, and for other reasons. But I look at that big time as just when you get these random wide receivers and running backs who are having career years and popping off, it's definitely not going to be that way if they're playing with a Jacoby Brissett, with a Mason Rudolph. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. It's okay, if they have the ability to do that, whether it's their rookie year, third year, eighth year, that's when it's the guy.
But I think Stan brings up a great point. We have to look so much at traits because stats, Jordan Love throws 32 touchdowns and 6 picks 2 years ago, and now he's more picks than touchdowns, I'm pretty sure, this season. I think on Saturday he completed 50% of his passes.
I was just talking NFL level.
Right.
They're here.
But I'm talking about, because all these people are okay, Trubisky's resume in college versus Mahomes' resume in college, whereas Watson threw all these picks, but hell, on the biggest stage, he delivered. It's very difficult.
Sure.
You have to look at same thing with Manning. I mean, Manning, his rookie season, he had the most interceptions in NFL history for a rookie quarterback. So I really think it's a lot about traits when you're evaluating these quarterbacks. God, great question, Stan.
From Ben, what's the level of expectation for this franchise? Assuming it's the Super Bowl, do we have the sack to make the necessary moves? Win big or lose big? That's the only thing that isn't rewarded is mediocrity. The only thing that isn't rewarded is mediocrity.
I think Ben's great. I mean, I think Ben is spot on there. Kind of just what we talked about, Are you willing to risk it? And look,
the Colts have the second-round pick that's sitting there at number, I guess Washington won on Sunday, so that's not good, but sitting there in the mid-30s. Mm-hmm. You're not necessarily going to have that in 2021 or 2022. Yeah. Like, that's not growing on trees every year. And when you start getting to, like, 9, 10 wins, then you're mortgaging an entire draft to move up. So when you compare the draft capital with the depth and the pretty elite talent it seems like is there in 2020 with this quarterback class, this seems like this would be the time to make that move. But, yeah, I think you got to risk it, and I think you got to risk it this offseason.
Cody Fowler says this year is over, but the sky isn't falling on the franchise. Young players are flashing. Big Q, Leonard, Willis, Hooker, Mack are pillars you can build around. Great GM, good coach who will improve, and tons of resources to get better. Who would you agree the future – not who. Would you agree the future is still very bright?
Yeah, bright. Very bright. I think to say very bright, you'd have to have a quarterback in place. I think it's bright for sure, and Cody just laid out all those reasons. To go very bright, you'd have to have an answer at quarterback for me. And I guess the other thing, Joey, is this. I need an answer at the passing of the torch spots. That was a popular phrase we used last year around the draft. Pass the torch. I'm talking left tackle, wide receiver 1, defensive end 1. I don't see obvious answers. Maybe Turay, maybe Campbell. Stress on maybe for both those. No answer at left tackle. So that's where I go with just bright. Like, there are a couple more answers that need to be given to me, provided to me at the critical spots, quarterback being the most important, before I sit here and I'm like, ESPN just came out with their top teams for the next 5 years, and the Colts are number 1 on that list. Like, that's where I stand.
Let's see. From Bailey. Bailey says, does this special teams coordinator still have a job? Congratulations to Joey for getting some recognition from the mothership. Thanks, Bailey. So does the special teams coordinator still have a job?
Do you think he's kind of a scapegoat, Joey? If you fire Bubba Findrone?
Yeah, it's like, hey, we got to do something, so eeny, meeny, miny, mo, you out.
Right. It's like, hey, we're going to keep the head coach. We're going to fire all the coordinators. Like, that's what happened to Greg Minuski here in Indianapolis. Hey, Chuck, we're going to keep you, and we're going to keep Ryan Grigson, give 4 year cinches, but, Greg Minuski, he's got to go.
Yeah.
It's
right.
So, I don't know. I don't blame Bubba Ventrone for any of the individual place kicking, like right leg of Vinatieri. Where you do offer blame is the field goal protection unit, a missed snap. If you look at the return numbers, though, they've actually been pretty good this year. So I guess someone's got to go. Someone's got to fall on the sword, if you will. I guess you do fire Bubba. I mean, hell, you fire Gouge. For what?
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, like you said, I mean, all these teams now are realizing, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a heyday on special teams. And in terms of loading up, how's there no counter? Why is there no counter?
Right. I know. I just think it's so. It's not all on his shoulders. Like, it's funny, when I've talked to Bubba Ventrone a few times this year, I kind of walk away with, like, he's like, what do you want me to do? Like, it's Adam Vinatieri. What am I going to tell him to start kicking the ball differently?
Right.
Like, he's turns 47 years old in a few weeks. So, where you do offer blame is with certainly the blocked field goal yesterday. And some might argue that's a fireable offense. Just point blank period. Like, that moment of the game, they tried the same thing against you the first couple kicks.
Yeah.
And you let that happen again, no corrections. But if you look at the 3 blocks Vinatieri's had this year, I'd put 2 on him. I'd put Pittsburgh Cam Hayward and the first block yesterday on him. So I get it. I'm sure Bubba Ventrone probably will get fired just because someone's got to go, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with it.
Matt Baker asks, over-under for the Colts' first-round pick, 16.5.
So right now they're 17 at 6-6.
Sounds about right.
I've been saying 8-8 all year. I think I'll stick with 8-8.
So you're going...
I'll say slightly over. 17 or 18. If you're 500 right now and you're picking 17, I'll say you pick 17 or 18.
So the rest of the way, though, you're thinking New Orleans, Jacksonville losses?
Definitely New Orleans.
Carolina. Hell, Tampa Bay, New
Dude,
Orleans.
that second loss could come Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have Hilton or Mack.
True.
Tennessee's won 2 in a row. Or, excuse me, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, so Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, my God.
Winston's thrown 5 more picks than anybody in the league.
My favorite stat line was last week when Jameis Winston was 0 for 1 with 1 interception.
And yet they still come back and win the game, obviously. Because, Winston's going to score 25 fantasy points for you somehow. Yeah, I'll go with 8-8, and they're picking 18. I think they did that a few years ago when they drafted Ryan Kelly.
Correct. From Bob, does Adam Vinatieri's struggles and their refusal to address it cause any issues in the locker room? Does it hurt Ballard's credibility? We kind of hit on it.
Hurts credibility. Issues in the locker room. I think it does a little bit. I know some people disagree with that. It's definitely people in the Colts organization. I don't know.
How can it not?
I feel like there's a little bit of whispering in that locker room, kind of like, man, they keep on effing up like that, and they continue to come to work and cash checks, and guys get benched in game and all this stuff. And a little breaking news here from Adam Schefter: season-ending fracture for Chester Rogers.
Oh,
so that goes off of the crutches and knee brace that we saw from him leaving the locker room on Sunday.
Tough, man. Tough. Yeah. All right, IU fan in Texas, did you foresee this fall off the cliff after the 5-2 start? Injuries from skill positions were surprising to me, thus causing much of this. I also didn't see Vinny being a liability, considering the start of the season. Extremely disappointing to this fan.
The rapid decline, I don't think I saw. I don't think I saw that. But, I mean, all along I've kind of felt like it's a 500 football team. But, again, just the rapidness and the fact that it's come during a kind of a manageable part of the schedule. You know?
When we did Beers with Bowen in April, hell, even in August, when we did Beers with Bowen, when we talked about the schedule, it was always that first 5 weeks, man.
Yes.
If they could just survive that first 5 weeks, and then you sit there after beating Kansas City, I mean, it is. It's definitely not what any of us expected at all.
No, and that's such a good point, Joey. Again, a month ago, you're 5-2. You're talking potential bye, literally. And you got a stretch of Pittsburgh and Miami and Jacksonville and Houston and Tennessee. Like, you're thinking, okay, 3-2, maybe 4-1 in that stretch.
Right.
Now you've lost 4 or 5 and a couple multi-score losses in there, and it's just like, I don't know. It's just starting to unravel a little bit. And the injuries on offense aren't helping you at all.
It's kind of got that like Murphy's Law type of feel of like anything that can go wrong will go wrong at this point.
We brought up Murphy's Law earlier this year, and I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
Remember? I think we were talking about Newton's Law and Murphy's Law.
Right.
Water finds its level. And I just felt like this is a 500 football team this season, and, with a quarter to go, they're a 500 football team.
All right, this is from Matt. Is this Vinny's last year? He says, I think so. If it is, do you try and sign someone like Zerline or find a young kid?
I think young. Yeah, I don't know. I can't say I've spent 1 minute looking at the free agent kicker market. But, 7th round pick. I'm fine. Tie me down. You'd have to tie. If I were GM, you have to tie me down to draft a kicker in the 7th round. But whatever, tie me down. Call in the pick.
From Gordo, if when officially eliminated from the playoffs, do they throw in Kelly and see what he's got? Should they? Chad Kelly, we're talking about here. Hey, a little 6 magic, little 3rd-string quarterback, Duck Hodges. What do you say?
I think Duck and Chad would have a good time if they partied together.
Yeah, they will.
I would be very, 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 very surprised if the Colts put Chad Kelly in as their starting quarterback at some point this season. Having said that, should they? I go back to the whole being eliminated from the playoffs. Like, there's a decent chance the Colts even enter like week 16 still with a 1% chance of making the playoffs. Sure. Like, Pittsburgh's got a tough finish to the season.
Yeah.
Tennessee has got Houston twice and New Orleans. Like, if you win all 4, which I know is if Times New Roman size 96-point font, there's a decent chance that you make the playoffs, maybe better than decent. Now 1 loss and you really start, packing your bags and
calling the airlines. No one calls the airlines anymore. Changing your flights to,
on the Southwest app.
Yeah, right. December 29th or whatever the first day of the off season is. So, should they put Swag in there? I think deep down the Colts know who Chad Kelly is, and they would never give him the keys to be the franchise quarterback. I just think deep.
Shouldn't give him the. Okay, nope.
I just think literally deep down they know. Like, okay, Chad's a nice player, talented guy. You like to have him as your third quarterback, but like the day you hand Chad Kelly a 5-year, $100 million contract, I just could never see that happening. And yeah. I don't know. I don't know if Jacoby Brissett needs more evaluation. He probably deserves it, but like we're 30 starts into this. Don't we kind of know what he is?
That's what a lot of people are saying. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they should. I mean, for entertainment purposes, sure, but I don't think they will.
There's so many Chad Kelly key jokes that I want to make right now. Yeah. It's like a sneeze that I'm just going to have to hold in, and it's going to bother me for the rest of the day, but that's okay.
Just sitting there on the tee for you.
Yeah, from Craig. He says, how fitting we lose another game because of the kicking game. Yes, established. That marks at least 3 games we have lost. Since Ballard and Reich preach accountability, what do you think will happen? Will anyone lose their job? This would not have gotten to this point in New England.
Who asked that?
Craig.
That's a fair question. Will anyone lose their job? I mean, I guess Adam Vinatieri won't be brought back. I mean, what is firing Bubba Ventrone going to do at the end of the season? By golly, that sent a message. After your unit cost us 4 games this year, now we're going to fire you. Like, whoop-de the frick do. It's like you had a chance. You had a chance back in week 2. It was alarming. It was glaring.
Oh, yeah.
You played with fire. You somehow got to 1-1. You could have made a move. Would that have been a difference? Would you be 8-4 right now? Would you be 7? I mean, 1 win. If you beat Pittsburgh, that changes everything in how the playoff standings look for this football team right now. So I don't really know if it matters after the season.
Alex says, the season being what it's being, is it safe to say that Jacoby got scared / the moment got too big for him? Scared of losing the potential starting job because of mistakes? And if so, who's more to blame for that? Jacoby or Reich for drilling it into his head that mistakes would not be tolerated? Is that a thing? Has Reich done that?
I don't think Reich's ever said, mistakes will not be tolerated. I mean, no, I don't think it's that. I think it is, let's try to live in a more of a high percentage world. But,
yeah.
Look, Frank Reich, everyone can go back and watch the film. There's plenty of all-22 film where Frank Reich is dialing up some big-time plays down the field. It's not like no one's running past 15 yards. There are plays to be made, so I don't think it's that. It's weird, man, because Jacoby threw the ball deep and threw it well deep back in 2017. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I just think it's, I don't know if it's scared moment. I just think this is kind of who he is. So I actually kind of like Jacoby's temperament, but, when those moments do arise, I just don't know if he's a talented enough quarterback to make the game-changing plays and come back when your team's down and you've got the ball and things like that. So that's why I look at it. I don't think it's intimidation of Frank Reich or anything like that.
Elijah had to go here. I like this one to end on here, Kevin. He says, if Luck was our quarterback this year and not Brissett, what do you think our record would be after this Titans game? Also, do you personally think he wants to come back after watching Brissett struggle this season like he has?
I'm shocked that was the only one of those questions we got.
Yeah.
All right, if Andrew Luck's under center, what's their record?
Yep.
I would say I'd probably set the bar at 9-3. 9-3.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
9-3. I mean, hell, they've really been in every loss. Did they get blown out of any game?
I mean, the Titans ran away with that one, but it was
that was you had a field goal to take the lead with 5 minutes to go. Yeah. I'd say 9-3, and I'd probably be at the low end. Honestly, I think most fans would say 10-2 or better than that. So, I'll go with 9-3, and then what's he asked me?
Do you think that he wants to come back at all because of the recent struggles of Jacoby Brissett? Watching those.
I don't think watching Jacoby Brissett struggle will influence Andrew Luck's decision at all. I don't. I've laid it out several times, and I'll lay it out again. Andrew Luck coming back to football is threefold. He sees a locker room celebrate afterwards, and that makes him jealous, like he was jealous back when Jacoby became the starter in 2017. So does that creep back into his mind? It's like, I love that. That's missing. I can't recreate that. Like, does that scratch his itch? Him finally being healthy? Does that make him all of a sudden have a new, oh my gosh, my body feels better. I'm good.
I wonder what that status is of that,
I think pretty good. It's not like this injury needed surgery,
right.
Or things like that. And then lastly, Lucy Luck. One way or the other. Maybe Lucy Luck will make him say, I want to be on the couch more. Maybe it'll channel his inner buddy of mine that's got a couple kids and say, you changed the first diaper. You want to get back in the locker room.
Get me out of here.
Or just, show your kids. Show your kids what dad used to do.
Sure.
So those are the three things. I don't think the struggles of Jacoby Brissett has anything to do with that.
Right. I don't know if you watched the press conference when Luck retired, but he was struggling quite a bit himself. So I don't know if he's going to say, yeah, I'll take somebody else's struggle back onto my shoulders.
Give me that burden.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man, that's it. I don't know if you got any more.
I got one.
Okay.
Colin just sent this in, and Colin always has great insight, so I just want to sneak this in. I haven't really read it. Maybe I'm repeating it, but he goes, maybe too late. What's the new threshold for Colts kicking decisions? The operation has become so detrimental to the point of not just costing Indianapolis points, but rewarding opponents with points. That first to fourth down math likely has to change. Will decisions change in December? Joey, this morning I was filling in on the Fan Morning Show, and for those out there, I'll be filling in every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday this month, so you can join us on 107.5 The Fan, 93.5 The Fan, listen online, 7 to 10 a.m. We got a question of, should the Colts start going for every fourth down?
When it's in their own, or in the opponent's territory.
Yes, every fourth down when field goals arise.
Yes. The
guy hung up, and I started laughing to Big Joe, the co-host, because I said, Joe, this question is actually legit. There's validity to a person asking that question.
Sure.
I don't laugh him off the air. I laugh him because, holy shit, we're asking that question, and we're not hanging up on him.
Sure.
That kind of goes off Colin's point. Colin brings up great points, like, do the analytics of John Park and George Lee and the Colts diving deeper into all these things and when they should go for it and the really green situations and the yellow situations. I might ask Frank Reich that question this week. Like,
please do.
As crazy as that sounds, do your struggles and lack of confidence on fourth down, does that influence how the green stuff looks? That is a fair question. I don't know. I don't think we've seen Frank Reich one time this year go for it because he has lack of confidence in the kicking unit. I don't think so. I think Frank Reich's just naturally very aggressive. So, I don't know, man. Holy, what a two questions to end on.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, I mean, last month of the season, can't hold anything back. Let's go. 50-yard line in.
Why not?
Fourth down, yeah.
You know what? Treat it like your high school kicker is on the soccer team, and the soccer team's got sectionals, and you don't have sectionals, so you don't have a kicker.
Let's do it.
You have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. Yeah. Definitely, like we hit on off the top, kind of unexpected with how that all went down with the video, but was definitely can't complain about it. It was fun. It was cool. David Blau. Yeah, I got to watch him. That was really exciting. Purdue lost in the bucket game, which was not great, but it was an exciting game.
I took Purdue +7.
Okay.
I was happy.
Good. Yeah. I definitely didn't expect them to score that many points with the weather being the way it was.
Not at all.
Double overtime helps with that. So, no, man, it was good. It was full of family and football, how we like it. So,
yeah, I probably watched 500 minutes of football on Saturday, and I'm not mad about it.
No, not at all. Even Friday, too. I love how on Friday of Thanksgiving week, they load that day, too.
Yeah.
It's a full day of
football. I could have used one more juicy game on Friday, but I'm probably nitpicking a little bit.
It's like you get 2 Saturdays on the last week of the year.
Yeah. And obviously the Egg Bowl, the guy pissing in the end zone, LOL. Ole Miss job now open. Tom Allen back to Ole Miss.
Whoa.
I don't know. So I'm going to keep an eye on. All right. Monday, Thursday schedule this week and next week. Then the Colts got a Monday night game. Then we get into Christmas, and we'll readjust things as well. Okay. But let's go Monday, Thursday, the next 2 weeks. Let's end on a positive note. Colts make the playoffs, win all 4. 3 away from home. Pittsburgh lose 2. Tennessee lose 2. That's what you need. Start praying. Do whatever you need to do. He's Joe Monero. He's going viral. We'll see if he's back on Thursday. I'm Kevin Bowen. Everybody have a great week. This has been Kevin Bowen. Thank you for listening to another edition of Kevin's Corner. If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher for the best Colts and Pacers coverage.